If you want to be a Christian, you must pray. Prayer is not an addition to the Christian life, or it is its center. It is not a practice for pious souls. It is not a refuge for those who are afraid of the world. It is the place where faith becomes real. You can know the Bible. You can know theology. You can know the history of the church. But if you do not pray, Christianity remains an idea. And Christianity was not born to remain an idea. You can pray for many reasons: to ask forgiveness, to say thank you, to praise, to ask for something. True prayer is all of this together. To pray means to stand before God, not to speak about God, but to speak with God, and sometimes simply to stay. Jesus never said, "When you know enough, you will be my disciples." He said, "When you pray," as if prayer were something obvious, as if it were the natural breath of those who believe. Jesus prayed. That alone should be enough. If the Son of God felt the need to pray, who are we to think we can do without it? He prayed at dawn. He prayed at night. He prayed before decisive choices. He prayed before choosing the disciples. He prayed before the Passion. He even prayed on the cross. Prayer did not remove him from suffering, but it allowed him to pass through it with the Father. Here is a truth that must be said clearly. Prayer is not meant to change God. It is meant to change us. Many in many religions pray as if God were a vending machine. You insert the request, you wait for the result. And if it does not come, you are disappointed. But Jesus teaches another way. When you pray, do not waste words. Not because God does not listen, but because the Father already knows what we need. Christian prayer is not born from anxiety. It is born from trust. To pray is to say, I am not enough for myself. To pray is to recognize that my life does not stand on its own. To pray is to stop pretending self-sufficiency. And here we touch the heart. Prayer is an act of truth. Before God, you cannot perform. You can only be. That is why Jesus said one must enter the secret room, close the door, and stay there in secret. Because in secret, the masks fall. Prayer is not made to impress God. It is made to disarm the heart. Some think they do not know how to pray. Some say, I don't have the words. But prayer does not begin with words. It begins with desire. Jesus said, ask and it will be given to you. But before that, he teaches us to desire, to recognize what truly matters. Prayer educates desire. It purifies it. It makes it more true. At first, we ask for things. Then we ask for answers. Then we ask for meaning. And at a certain point, if we remain faithful to prayer, we ask for nothing anymore. We remain, we surrender, and that is where something happens. Prayer does not eliminate pain, but it prevents pain from becoming despair. Jesus did not promise a life without the cross. He promised a presence. Remain in me. Remain. Do not run away when faith becomes uncomfortable. Do not stop praying when God seems distant, because there will be moments when prayer will be light, and others when it will be only fidelity. And fidelity is a very high form of love. Prayer is the place where you learn to trust, even when you do not understand, even when you feel nothing. Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit. This is not a formula. It is the final act of a life lived in prayer. That is why, if you want to be a Christian, you must pray. Not well, not a lot, but truly. At a certain point, however, the question arises. Praying is fine, but how do you pray? Jesus does not leave his disciples in vagueness. When they ask him to teach them how to pray, he does not answer with a theory. He answers with a prayer. The Our Father is not just a formula to be recited. It is an inner school. It is a map. The first word is Father, not judge, not master, Father. To pray as a Christian means to start from here, from a relationship, from filial trust. You do not pray to convince God to love you. You pray because you are already loved. Then Jesus teaches something surprising. Before asking anything for yourself, he makes you say, "Hallowed be your name." Christian prayer straightens your gaze. It moves you away from the center. It repositions you. Not because you do not matter, but because God matters more. Only then do the requests come. Daily bread, forgiveness, deliverance from evil. And here Jesus is very concrete. Bread, not excess. What is necessary? Prayer does not detach you from life. It brings you back to the real. Then there is forgiveness. And this is where prayer stops being comfortable. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Not before, as. Christian prayer is not neutral. It exposes you. It judges you. It transforms you. If you truly pray, you cannot continue to hate as before. And then there is a truth we often forget. Prayer is not only words, it is also silence. Jesus prayed in silence, in the desert, on the mountain. Silence is not emptiness. It is space. It is availability. Many stop praying because they feel nothing. But prayer is not an emotion. It is a relationship that grows even when it is silent. There are days when praying will be easy, and others when it will be dry. But even dryness can be prayer, if it remains faithful. Jesus said that one must pray always, without growing weary. Not because God is deaf, but because the human heart is educated over time. And then there is prayer of petition. Yes, you can ask. Jesus says it clearly. Asking is not a lack of faith. It is trust. But Christian prayer does not guarantee the result. It guarantees the relationship. Jesus himself, in the darkest moment, asks that the cup pass. And immediately after, he adds, "Not my will, but yours." Here, prayer reaches maturity. When it stops being control and becomes abandonment. To pray is to trust enough to let go. And here another theme opens, often discussed. Some Christians pray only to God. Others also pray to Mary and the saints. This is not a contradiction. It is a difference of sensitivity. All Christians pray to God. This is the center. But in the Catholic and Orthodox tradition, Mary and the saints do not replace God. They intercede, as you ask someone to pray for you. Not because God does not listen, but because love is communion. Prayer is never spiritual individualism. It is always ecclesial, even when you are alone. When a Christian prays, he is never truly alone. And this opens to the final dimension. prayer as daily heartbeat. You do not need to do extraordinary things. You need fidelity. A few minutes every day. Better little and true than much and distracted. Prayer is like an ember. If you feed it, it stays alive. If you neglect it, it goes out. There is, however, an even deeper point. And this is where many stop. There are moments when you do not know what to say, not because you do not believe, but because the pain is too great or the joy too intense. And then you ask yourself, am I praying badly? No, you are entering the heart of prayer, because Christian prayer does not rely only on your words. It relies on the Spirit. There is a very powerful sentence that says it clearly. When we do not know what to ask for, the Spirit Himself intercedes within us with inexpressible groanings. This changes everything. It means that prayer is not, first of all, a performance. It is a letting oneself be inhabited. When you cannot find the words, you can remain before God as you are, tired, confused, empty. This too is prayer. The Holy Spirit is not a vague energy. He is the living presence of God in the human heart. He is the one who reminds you who you are. He is the one who realigns you when you get lost. He is the one who prays in you when you can no longer go on. That is why Christian prayer does not depend on mood. It does not depend on perfect concentration. It does not even depend on the strength of faith. It depends on fidelity. To pray means to show up, again and again, even when you feel nothing, even when it seems useless. Because prayer is not meant to inform God. It is meant to transform you. And this transformation is slow, almost imperceptible, but real. Prayer changes the way you look, the way you react, the way you pass through pain. It does not eliminate problems, but it prevents you from being crushed by them. This is how prayer enters history, not as magic, not as a shortcut, but as a silent force. The great turning points of Christianity are not born in palaces. They are born from bent knees. Monks in the desert, hidden mothers, men and women who pray while the world runs elsewhere. Prayer makes no noise, but it holds the world up. And in the end, a simple truth emerges. If you want to be a Christian, you must pray. Not because it is a moral duty, but because without prayer, faith goes out. It becomes an idea. It becomes discourse. It becomes an empty identity. Prayer, instead, keeps the channel open. It keeps the relationship alive. It is the breath of the soul. You breathe even when you sleep, even when you do not think about it. So prayer should be not always intense, but always present. And when a person truly prays, something changes. They do not become perfect. They become real. They become less rigid, less aggressive, less afraid, because those who pray are no longer alone before life. And so, yes, prayer is the center of the Christian life, not a technique, not an empty habit, but a living relationship, a presence that precedes you, that accompanies you, that awaits you. And if you do not know where to begin, begin here. Stay, breathe, say His name, Jesus, the rest will come. Talitha Kum. Get up, pray, and let God live in you.